Welcome to the Reporting Basic Designer Overview. My name is Emma and I'm Technical Support here at Cartograph. In this session, we'll introduce you to the Basic Report Designer, which was available in the Spring 18 version of OMS. This tool will allow users to create simple reports and charts using an interactive reporting wizard. In this session, we will show you how to create a basic table and a basic chart using the new basic reporting tools. This feature is available to OMS customers who have permissions to create reports, which are set up under Role Administration. With the Basic Reporting tool, users can now create simple tables and charts using the in-browser Report Designer. With no extra software download, any user with rights to create reports can quickly put together a basic report table or chart. The simple interface and design walks users through the process and allows users to get data into a presentable format easily. From reports and charts created from the Basic Designer, users also have the option to open them with the Advanced tool and continue customizing their reports. I will note, if a report is edited in the Advanced tool, it cannot be edited in the Basic tool any longer. Because the Basic Report Designer uses an in-browser reporting tool, any user with permissions to create reports set up under Role Administration can create basic reports. This is useful for a range of users, from the end user in the streets department who wants a printout of tasks due today, to the public works director looking to see how much each department has spent over the last month on tasks. Reports created in the Basic Designer can be started in the Basic Designer and opened in the Advanced Designer to allow for further customization. This opens up the reporting possibilities to many user types. Remember though, that once a report is taken to the Advanced Designer, it cannot be opened in the Basic any longer. A common report we see wanting to be built is to put together a list of tasks which were completed within a user-specified date range and which are grouped by department, and their total costs for labor, equipment, material, and other logs are summed. This can now be done with the Basic Reporting Designer. Let's see how to do this. I'll navigate to the Reports tab and select Create. The type I'm going to choose is Tasks, and the type is simply where the report is stored in my project home. I'm going to name the report Task Totals by date and department. I'll go ahead and use the Basic Designer table option because we're going to use our Basic Designer and create a table. I'm going to go ahead and say Create. The next thing that happens is another tab opens up on the browser where I'm prompted to select a table. Here are the list of all the tables and subtables within my database. I can search for task and see all the task tables. I'm going to choose the parent table of tasks. And next I'm asked to add columns to my report. The columns that I'm going to add are activity, actual start date. Actually, I'll take that off and I'll choose actual stop date. I'm going to choose asset. And I'm just clicking once to add the columns, and they appear under selected elements. I'm going to choose department. I'll go equipment cost. I'll do labor cost and labor hours, material cost, other cost. Scrolling down, I'll choose the status. Then I'll choose the task ID and total costs. I can scroll all the way up and see my list of elements are added. I can hit the back button and now I have an option to preview. I'm going to go ahead and select preview and I can see what my report looks like with just a few clicks. I'm going to go ahead and rearrange the columns. So I'm going to do that by hovering my mouse over these up and down arrows, clicking and dragging to rearrange the columns. So I'm going to put task ID first, activity, stop date, asset, department. Then I'll choose status. Then I'll do labor hours, labor cost. And then I have equipment, material, other, and total costs already in the proper order. I'm going to go ahead and hit preview. So now that we have the report data on the page, I want to first change the report title in the header and set the layout to landscape, and then I'll also add some page numbers. To change the report title, I'll select General on my designer, and then I can change what is written here. And I'll make it a little bit nicer. Task totals by date and department. Under the layout section, I can go ahead and set the orientation to landscape. I could also set the page size or the color scheme. I can set page numbers. In this case, I'm going to choose bottom centric, and this will be the page number format, or I can change it to page 1 of X, which is what I'll go ahead and do now. I could also turn a date on here. I'm going to go ahead and say preview, and now we can see what the report looks like. We have the report, we have data on the page, and we have the report formatted to look pretty nice. The next thing I want to do is adjust the column width so that the department is not having to word wrap. I do this by selecting the table columns section of the designer and position columns. And then I can smush labor hours and status over a bit and shrink down asset just a bit to stretch out that department. I'm going to go ahead and say back and then preview. So now we stretched out that department field, so we're not word wrapping on that. Next, I want to group the report by department to keep the data and totals together for each department. So I'll minimize the table columns. I'll maximize the sorting and grouping section. I'm going to go ahead and say group by, and here I'm going to choose department. Note the pop-up that says the required sort order has been automatically added. With this reporting tool, in both basic and advanced, grouping only works if the report is also sorted by the same field. The basic report designer takes away the extra step of having to manually add the sort order after a group. Now that we have the grouping set up, we can preview and see what it looks like. In this case, initially I'm seeing things grouped by no department. When I go ahead and save the report and come back out to my reports tab and refresh and search for my report, if I click to a few more pages, I can see the grouping done, and I have the group headers for each grouping. Next, we want to put group footers and report totals on this report, and we'll do that by using the table columns section. So I'll move into the table columns, and the first thing we'll do is adjust the cost fields to set them to have $signs, and then we'll add footers. So I'll first select the labor cost field. I'll set the display to be currency and the currency symbol to be a $sign. In the aggregate values section, we see there is an option for in table footer and in group footer. I'll turn these check marks on, and this will allow us to put footers in both the table and the group, and then we can set the aggregate values. So I'm going to change both aggregate values to sum. When I'm ready to move on from that, I'll hit back. For labor hours, I'm not going to adjust the display, but I am going to add my aggregate values, again to sum. I'm going to repeat the steps to put the $sign and add the group and report footers for the equipment cost, material cost, other, and total. So I'm selecting display, and then I'm doing my aggregate values for both group and table footer, both for sum. I'll go ahead and hit back. I'm going to go ahead and save this report and come back into my web viewer to refresh it, and then hop to a page that has some groupings on it. Here on the first page, we can see the table footer that will give me a running total of each column for the page. And then as I click through, we'll see that total grow. Looking here at a page that has a grouping on it, I can see the group footer, which is in the dark gray, and I can see the sums for that group. The next step that we want to do is to go ahead and put filters on a report to allow the end user to filter for a specific date range and department. Back in the designer, I'm going to minimize table columns and I'm going to choose filter. I'm going to go ahead and say add filter. I'll choose actual stop date and department. I can add more than one filter at a time, and these filters are going to be parameters for the end users to choose their options each time they run. The filter statement itself will be an AND filter statement, so it must be in this date range and it must have this department. I'm going to go ahead and go back. I'm going to save the report, and I'll come out here and refresh this report. Here we can see the parameters are added. I'm going to go ahead and let it choose just the Public Works department. Actually, let's do Public Works Sign and Street. And I'm going to go ahead and run this for 1 year of tasks. So here we can see that I have the table footer, which is the bottom light gray footer, and I have the group footers. As I click through, I'm looking at the signs department. As I click through, I'll get to the end of the sign grouping and see the footer for that group. We can also use the Basic Report Designer to create simple charts. Let's go ahead and create a chart that shows the total cost of tasks by their department, which this chart could then be used alongside our table. To go ahead and create the chart, I'm going to close down these two tabs and come back out to my reports page. I'm going to go ahead and select Create. The type will again be tasks here, and I'm going to name the report Task Total by Department and Date Chart. And I'm going to go ahead and say Use Basic Designer Chart. I'll select Create here, and again, the Basic Report Designer is going to open up here. Now in this case, I have to scroll through and select my table. There's no search function here, but I can click on the scroll bar to move a little bit quicker. I'm going to choose Tasks as my record set once again. I could choose any child record sets of tasks, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it at just tasks and set the arrow. Types of charts available for us in the Report Designer. For our use case, we'll go ahead and choose bars, and then we'll choose simple. I first start out on the General tab where I can change the name of my report. I'll change it to be Chart of Task Totals by Date and Department. I'm going to go ahead and select the horizontal axis, and then I'm going to set the field to be tasks.department. I will say do not group, and I'll label the axis departments. I'm going to go ahead and select preview. Departments below, but we have not clearly defined our y-axis, so we'll do so now. I'll select the vertical y-axis. I'll change the field to be tasks total cost, and then I'll label the axis total cost. I'll go ahead and preview the chart. Now we can see a completed chart which shows the task total cost by department. We can see in our example, the sign department has spent the most of all the departments. This chart is not filtered yet, so we want to add filters for the actual stop date and the department, just like we did in our table. I'll select the filter section and I'll select add filter, choose actual stop date and department. Go ahead and select back. I'm going to save this report, and I'll come back out to the Reports tab, and then I will go ahead and search for it. I'll refresh my Reports page and search. I'll go ahead and run this for 1 year, and I'll choose those same 3 departments, Public Works, Signs, and Street, and I'll apply. Here we can see that the sign department in the last year has spent the most on their tasks. You have now seen an overview of the new Basic Reporting Designer. This designer is available within your browser and allows users to create simple report tables and charts. It's an easy way for users of all levels to start utilizing the reporting functionality within OMS and can expand and grow their knowledge. this session, we created a table and a chart. We added filters, groups, sorting, and formatting. I hope you feel that you have a starting off point to jump into Reports and Learn. If you have questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact support at support@cartograph.com or 877-647-3050. Have a great day.